I have my little lunch and I really like this microphone, man. I want to get more. I'm a redundancy person. Sometimes I've been told that I plan ahead too much and things don't always go to plan. But what I want to say on my lunch break is this. I've heard success stories of people that plan ahead. I put out a video that talked about Nazi Germany and how they really didn't know what to do. And by evidence of that, they looked to Mississippi. Some people may say, well, that's a long time ago. That don't matter. You're digging up old bones. Can't change the past, right? Now, you might be able to change some things about the future. Bottom line is, they use us as a measuring index. If that wasn't true, they wouldn't have said it. That stuff I put in that video is unrefutable. They didn't look at anybody else. They looked at us, the freedmen. They said, if you could do it to them, we could do this to them over there. And so they modeled Nazi Germany off of Jim Crow. That should tell you a lot about how powerful our people is. But enough of bragging, if that's what I'm doing. They had to plan ahead. They planned for a very demonic and an evil thing to do. But they plan ahead. Race soldiers plan ahead. The people that run the world, they plan ahead. They don't plan within 6 months, 2 months. No, they plan for hundreds of years out. They plan for decades out. That's how they're able to run a well-oiled machine. Now, the machine is going to have some nuts and bolts dropping and breaking from time to time, but then they got to refine it. I like using Google Calendar a lot when I'm planning ahead. And it's something I thought about when my father told me. An exit plan, he said, have a plan B. There was a time where my parents was going through some stuff, and every time I saw, it'd be something my dad did or something he wasn't supposed to do or whatever he did. And every now and then, my mom might like kick him out. And I sat there and I watched that. And some of the things that happened, I could understand why she did it. So, I didn't look very highly favorable at my dad at that time, because remember, when you have order and you have structure, of course, dad's going to be the bad guy. But he never cared if I didn't like it or not. And now, as a father of my own, as a father of me being a dad, yeah, you're not supposed to be their friends. You ain't supposed to care. You're going to have emotions and stuff like that. But no, we're not your friends. Don't give a damn if you don't like it, right? We're not supposed to give a damn if they don't like it. I'm not your friend. I'm supposed to be preparing you for this world and continuing this legacy. We got another subscriber, Melanin Planet. This damn thing. I need to get a shout out to him or whoever that is that subscribed. But my dad, he probably did something that warranted my mom. Maybe he wasn't being productive. He did something that made her, all right, we're going to shut the door. So I kind of had, when I seen that after a while, because there was things, I ain't like my dad, the strictness and all that. You're not going to like that as a young man. Of course you're not going to like him. Dad's going to be the bad guy all the time. He's going to be the villain because he demanded order. And I grew up in a nuclear family. We ain't had none of that flim flam stuff going on. So, I'm an 80s baby. I'm kind of old school. And I'm fine with that. I don't like none of this new shit. I'm going to be honest. I never have. At 16, 17, 18, 19, I ain't like none of that new weird shit. Never did. So, I was always even, they used to say, oh, well, he's being an old man or whatever. They tell me that 17, 18, 19 sometimes. Because I ain't with none of the flim flam. I really ain't. And so, I used to My dad was older than my mom, of course. So with him being the villain, if she kicked him out, whatever the case may be, or, she locked the doors, make us put the couch up because he did something that warranted. After a couple of days, I was like, man, let him come back home or whatever like that. So at one point he did something to where he wasn't coming back for a minute until I actually asked my mom. My mom, probably said, okay, or whatever. And I felt like I had more freedom without him around because mom's not going to maintain that order. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but what I'm saying is dad's going to maintain, he's going to lay the law down. And naturally, you're not going to like the law. You're a kid. You're not going to want to hear the word no, you can't do it. And you can't ask him why. That's a no-no. You ain't going to ask him why you doing this and why the law is the law. You ain't going to question him. You ain't going to be asking no questions. You ain't going to get smart. You ain't going to change the look on your face. You better fix your face. You better fix your tone. All of that. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, there wasn't no room to stomp out the room and, oh, I'm going to make a list and I'm going to go to school and I'm going to go harm people that ain't got nothing to do with it and all this. So, you know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, you ain't doing none of that. None of that. You're going to get that belt is what's going to happen. You're going to get that belt and you might get them hands and feet. That's exactly what's going to happen to you. So I had to respect the law. He was the law. I had to respect that. And, so when I got outside, I had to respect adults. I had to watch what I say. When we were coming up, you say something crazy to somebody be upside your head. So they kind of helped me with that. Like, you go out and you be respectful. Now, if somebody bother you, you lay belt. That was the rule, but not at school. So I noticed the times that he was out the house. He ain't never really have his paper right. He'd have his van or his automobile and he'd be at Howard Evans' basement or something like it would always be. So sometimes like he would still come get me to do things. It'll always be some little scam or scheme or some, he's painting a house. So it'll always be something going on. So I seen the hustle and the drive, but I just didn't see organization. And I remember something he told me. Save your money. Always have some money to the side. Because if a woman puts you out, you straight. And I always kept that in the back of my head. Not to necessarily do nothing wrong, but as soon as I left my mom's house, I ain't shack up. I went and got my own spot. Because I realized the life that I want to live and the things I might want to get into, you can't do that in mama's house. You see what I'm saying? I ain't like being at my mom's house coming in all hours of the night, smelling like you know what, I didn't like that. I didn't like doing that. After a while, I'm like, I gotta go. Mom's like, oh, you leaving? Yeah, I gotta go, Mom. I'm getting too old. And I used to see some of my friends. They would leave their mom's house and they go shack up. And I never understood that. Like, I like, y'all, you want your own spot, bro. Like, I had to have my own spot. That was mandatory. Because I had to have the power. If I'm talking to somebody and they ain't acting right, you ain't put me out of nowhere. It took years before I moved in with my wife. Years. Forever. I'm not giving up my power. That was my mentality. I don't care how bad I'm doing, I ain't giving it up. So when I saw that happen to him, me having my own spot to me was, then I noticed when I started, when I was dating or, and meeting women and, I'm doing my thing and then I'm hustling and grinding and all that. There was a new level of respect for having your own spot. Some of them didn't like it. Like, oh, why don't you come move with me? And I'm good. No, we could do the same thing over here. For real. Like, no. So, when he used to say, plan ahead, like, because he never really got to the point where, and I think it was broken families, stuff like that, whatever. He never got to the point financially, where he had that sense of stability, where, so he, sometimes he would say like, oh man. And I know it kind of bothered him to see, like, your son seeing your dad live in a basement, even if it's temporary. It's kind of like, eventually he got his own spot and stuff like that, but because they didn't work out. But that's what made me think about planning ahead. Sometimes I would just plan stuff and it don't always go to plan. You got to be okay with that. And as you get older, what you're doing in life is you're managing disappointment. I said that before. You're just managing disappointment. That's all you're doing. You have to make the life that you want. You literally have to force life on itself, not to the point where you know don't not force it in a way where you just forcing something ain't gonna work, but you literally got to create your reality. No one's gonna give you that. Ain't nobody gonna give you that. And I think if he had a little bit more organization, I'm doing what they call a post mortem report. When the race soldiers or the YNs, when they leave a scene and that yellow tape comes up, I'm gonna say the homicide, not without the H, because they might ding me. Homicide comes and they do a post-mortem report. The morgue, eventually, that's the ultimate post-mortem report. The morgue doesn't care about what happened. They just want to know, what happened to your body and stuff. They don't care about the fact that, it was over a pair of Doritos or a pair of J's or who you voted for. They don't care about that. Their job is to give the post-mortem report back to the family. Overdose. Drowned. Blunt force to the head. Too many Popeyes biscuits, too much cholesterol. You know what I'm saying? Like that, they are giving you the final report. I did my post-mortem report on what he said to me. And I said, man, I'm not going to have that situation. And he told me this because he didn't want me to have that situation. Even if he wasn't doing stuff he wanted to do, he's telling his son, get your own shit, man. Get yourself together. So can't nobody say nothing to you. If there's some kind of, and he kept telling me that, save your money, get yourself together. You're going to grow up fast. And I was wondering why he keeps saying this to me. You know what I'm saying? And he was doing stuff he wasn't supposed to be doing, granted, but he was right. I had no interest on, I just didn't. When I got of age and I was able to get my own spot or whatever, I had to have that. I had to have multiple cars. I had to have my own spot. I had to have the freedom to be able to do what I wanted. Nobody to pull rank ever, unless they're the landlord. I wanted to be the landlord of my life, and anybody that dealt with me, they had to accept that. Yeah, DP's not gonna break into, you're not gonna be able to, get him in a situation where he needs you that much. No. I'll tell you if I need you. And that was my mentality. And that's how I got to the point I am today. So planning ahead. Planning ahead. That's the moral of the story today, y'all. Planning ahead.